caught in the crossfire. It's caught in the...
What's up, guys? Lance, the Obscure Movie Guy, coming to you once again with another fun-filled, fact-filled video that you probably won't care about, but we're going to do it anyways, trying to change the world one post at a time. And today we're going to be going over a psychological horror thriller that I've been sitting on since August because I've been pretty backlogged and I'm not very organized. But this was sent to me by two different people, the writer and director Joshua D. Maley and one of the co-stars, David Dietz. Now, I've talked about David in the past with Steve Rosinski's Curtains for Christmas. Really good actor. Sent this to me a couple weeks ago. Joshua sent it back to me in August. So let's sit down. Let's talk about it. Today we're going over Waltz.
I am seriously broke, and there is no way in hell I'm getting on a plane to go back home. I think I might have found a solution to my money problems.
Biggest fan.
I can't go back, and I will do literally anything. Will you help me? Please?
I will not help you hook up with some creeper from Biggest Fan just because you want to make more money. This isn't supposed to be a dating site. These guys aren't looking for love.
Is anyone there? Hello?
Welcome to Wonderland, Alice.
So as I said, Waltz is written and directed by Joshua D. Maley. Stars Hannah Keeley, David Dietz, and Hattie Bayer. And if I'm saying that wrong, I apologize. Tells the story of a young lady who is down on her luck and is looking to make some extra cash after losing her job and joins a website called Biggest Fans, obviously a play on OnlyFans, where she subsequently gets kidnapped and is tortured by one of her biggest fans. So the film's got a pretty decent opening sequence. It's nothing that's too terribly horrifying, but it is very relatable. We have Alice, played by Hannah Keeley, who is running late to work. Her mother is bothering her as far as trying to make a phone call and get through to her, and she keeps calling and she keeps calling. Alice wakes up late. She then forgets, a flash drive that she needed for work. She works as a copy editor for a local newspaper and forgot her project at home. And it's very relatable because I think we've all woken up late. I think we've all rushed out the door. I think we've had people calling us at inconvenient times. That just adds to that little bit of tension and forgetting stuff for work, at work. It's all very relatable, and you can feel the frustration with Alice, coming through. And again, it's a very relatable predicament that she finds herself in. Then obviously once she gets to work, boss man wants to, know where the article is, and she has to, admit that, she left it at home and she was in a bit of a rush. And this is where we start to learn a little bit of Alice's background. Apparently, she's been prone to instances like this, whether it was being sick, whether it was car trouble. She always seems to have something that happens, preventing her to completing her tasks on schedule and on time. And obviously, if you're working for a newspaper, there is a deadline that has to be met with these things. So we start to learn a little bit of Alice's background, and it starts to make you wonder, is it intentional? Is it just bad luck? Is there other forces of nature working against her? You have to watch to find out. Unfortunately, due to this series of events, Alice does eventually lose her job, and then obviously being down on her luck, talks to her friend, played by David Dietz. His name is Calvin in the movie. And Calvin and Alice are best friends. And she's kind of down on her luck, doesn't know what to do, and, kind of comes across this whole idea of joining this Biggest Fans website to try and make some extra cash. And Calvin is a photographer, so he can take the pictures and help her with the lighting. And does a lot of stuff for Alice, trying to make things, right with her. And, a large part of this film actually plays out more like a rom-com or even a dramedy, if you will, a drama comedy, because of the relationship that Calvin and Alice have. Calvin is very aware of the fact that he is in the friend zone. He's very aware that he will go out of his way to do just about anything for Alice that she asks. And he comes to terms with that. He's okay with it. He would like more from Alice, but he's willing to take what he can get from Alice. It's an interesting dynamic that they had. I don't want to give too much away in the way of the plot, but eventually through this biggest fan's expedition that she's going through, she does try to go meet up with one of her fans. As the fan put in so much money, she put it out there that if you gave enough money, I'll randomly select one of my biggest fans to go on a date with. She tries to make this happen, but ultimately kind of chickens out at the last minute. And I guess that biggest fan didn't take too kindly to that, because she is kidnapped shortly thereafter this event happens. So realistically, you're about halfway through the film when we start to get any type of thing that you would call horror. She is kidnapped, Alice is, and then she is essentially tortured, and things start to go awry relatively quickly. And I'm going to kind of leave it at that as far as the plot summary goes, because I do want people to go check this out. There's a few twists and turns along the way. It is kind of cleverly written in the regard of the character of Alice. It's like I said, Alice and Calvin had an interesting dynamic as far as the relationship there, but you as the viewer get to have a very interesting relationship with Alice as well, because in the beginning of this film, you kind of... it's relatable. Like I said, the opening sequence is very relatable, and you kind of feel bad for Alice, and then she loses her job, and, she has problems making friends, and she's doing this biggest fans thing. And a lot of it is a pity party almost. But things start to come to light into the third act, and you don't feel that bad for Alice anymore. You kind of sit back and go, she's kind of an asshole. And it was cleverly written in the regard that you don't necessarily see these things as problematic until the antagonist brings them to light. And you're like, oh crap, yeah, Alice, you're kind of a bitch. What the hell? So I thought that was really well done how they did that. I was more impressed with that than the actual reveal at the end of the film as to who the antagonist was. Which was kind of predictable to a certain degree, but the biggest revelation for me was the character of Alice in and of herself. Like, you kind of go on this trip, like, you kind of feel bad with her. She's relatable, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, she's the real monster. From a production standpoint, I mean, everything seemed pretty good. I mean, camera work was good. The editing was good. There's a lot of good shots, some good inserts. Lighting was pretty decent. No audio issues. So from a production quality standpoint, it checked all the boxes. I mean, nothing's too terribly flashy. I think they did a really good job, as I like to say, doing a lot with a little. I mean, it's clear the film is a low-budget independent film. But it doesn't necessarily feel that way. They were able to tell a lot of story with minimal locations and minimal cast. So I think they pulled that off really, really well. And the acting, I will say, was really well done by the three major players, which is Hannah Keeley, David Dietz, and Hattie Bayer. And it's a very young cast, and young in the regard, not necessarily age, but I guess green is a better way to put it. They don't have, so Hattie and Hattie and Hannah, Alice and Jenny, both don't have a whole lot of credits on IMDb. So I was kind of surprised to see how well they did with the little bit of experience. And I use that term loosely because Hannah Keeley's been acting for, from IMDb standards. She's been acting since, for the last decade, but she only has like 12 credits to her name. But that doesn't show in this regard. Like, she seems very seasoned, very professional. She was able to deliver lines very well. There was good on-screen chemistry between her and the other characters. So, and the same thing with Hattie Bayer. Not a whole lot of credits to her name either. Hasn't been doing it very long. But again, was able to pull off some great monologues, and play the part very well of this timid little girl that's trying to be friends with Alice. But Alice doesn't seem to want to make that connection for some reason. So from a fundamental standpoint, everything's pretty good. The acting's good, sound is good, lighting's good, camera work is pretty decent. I don't have a whole lot of negative connotations about this film. The pacing's a little slow in certain areas, and I mean, it was kind of labeled and listed as horror, but like I said, a large portion of this film kind of is written as a rom-com or even a drama between some of these characters. And they could have kept it that way, honestly. I mean, it wouldn't have been a story that we all haven't seen or heard of before, but I think it was written well enough that it could have gone in any of those directions. It could have stayed as a rom-com. It could have gone in a more dramatic tone. They went with a psychological horror towards the end with some torturing. But it's kind of cool to see a film that is kind of versatile in that way, because you can definitely get through the first 2 acts of this film and be like, you kind of don't know exactly where the horror aspect is until it's upon you, but you could definitely see it going in a couple of these other directions. So at the end of the day, this was a pretty well executed film that was cleverly written as far as some of the story development and definitely the character arc of Alice, played by Hannah Keeley, and not a bad watch at all. So go check out Waltz from 2024. Stars Hannah Keeley, David Dietz, and Hattie Bayer. And let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and comment to my YouTube channel. Check me out on Facebook and Instagram. I'll see everybody in the next video.